Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. On this week's episode, I'm going to talk to you about how stupid I was to buy a miner and a couple other things. But first and foremost, I want to thank our sponsor, the Bitbox O2 hardware wallet from Shift Crypto. Go to shiftcrypto.ch/Bitcoin Made Simple and use promo code Bitcoin Made Simple to get 5% off your order and get your coins off the exchange because if you have not learned by now, it's a dangerous place. Binance is probably going down and they all will eventually. And how will that affect us? I don't know. But if you have everything in your Bitbox O2 hardware wallet, you're gonna be good to go. So I would recommend you do that. Then also want to thank Upstream Data. I cannot wait to get my hands on the black box that is coming my way. And I'm going to actually probably use crypto cloaks to pump that heat even more directly into my heating system. Um, and then I'll be curious in the summertime if I turn that heat and move it towards, like, take the box out, the black box outside, maybe put it right by my pool filter. We have a heater that heats the pool, but I never run it because, first of all, I did the math, it costs like $3 an hour to run the pool heater. It's like, that's insane. And then, second of all, we have, uh, we have uh, sorry, I got distracted there for a second. Um, then we have on top of that, we have the cup pool cover that the pool cover has a like the solar cover or whatever, so it heats it up. So never really needed to heat the water, and I wasn't going to run the heater and cost all that money. Jesus Christ, $3 an hour. But I wondered if I put the black box outside and then just pump that hot air right onto the heating coils there, if it'll work. So I don't know. We'll see. But it is helping heat my house. I've talked to you guys about that. I'll update you a little bit on that as we get into the colder months, as I look out at a completely snow covered landscape in front of me as we get ready for what is going to be a white Christmas. I'm very excited about that. And Merry Christmas to you all. And I just say Merry Christmas because if you don't celebrate Christmas, I don't know what you celebrate. So I celebrate Christmas and I'm saying Merry Christmas. And if you are offended by that and want me to say something different, if I knew, for example, friends of mine that are Jewish, I say Happy Hanukkah because I know they don't celebrate Christmas, but I don't know what everybody celebrates. So I just roll with it. Um, anyways, but yeah. And also, Movies Plus, go to mymoviesplus.com and use the promo code Cory. You get 1 year of Movies Plus for $24. That would be $2 a month for those of you that are mathematically challenged. And you're going to get some great content. I'll get into that later, but holy crap, do we have some stuff you guys are going to like. So, first and foremost, how stupid was I to buy a miner? Um, I saw somebody, sorry for all the coughing in the delays. I picked up, inevitably picked up whatever my son had picked up that caused him to be out of school this whole week. So hopefully we're just getting our sickness out of the way pre-Christmas, and then we can, just relax and enjoy the break. But yesterday I felt like death. I was going to do this yesterday, but I couldn't do that. We had our like weekly Movies Plus team call, and I mean, I'm like, I run the show on it, like I come with the agenda, and then like, our not like not administrative assistant. She's like a business manager. Then she comes in, like, follows up with all the points that are follow up items. And but I was struggling. Oh, have you ever had that meeting where you're just sitting there? You're like, I don't know if I'm going to be alive by the end of this meeting. Um, there were a couple times too, like during the call, I just started like talking, and then I kind of got like, I was like, I don't know where I was going with that, and I was like, hang on, I lost my train of thought, and I mentioned, I was like, guys, I'm not feeling good. I apologize, but I still felt like adult. Um. So, anyways, yeah. Sorry for the pauses and for any coughing you might hear. I will try to keep it to a minimum. But yeah, how stupid was I to buy a miner? I haven't thought I was stupid to buy a miner, but I saw somebody on Twitter say, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I don't know who this person was, but I guess they bought a miner, and they said, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that buying a miner, um, or buying ASICs, which is just the chips, FYI. So the ASIC is the chip inside of the miner, um, or the hashing computer, if you want to call it that. So they said, how stupid was I? I think buying ASICs was like the dumbest decision of my life, or the dumbest financial decision I made this year. And I thought back on it and I was like, knowing what I know now, it would have been great to wait. Because I bought my miner for $8,800. Granted, like I've told you guys before, I bought it with Bitcoin. So for a while there, as the price of Bitcoin was going down, the price of the miners was going down and kind of like in parallel with it. So it was like I spent 0.22 Bitcoin whenever the price was 40,000. And as the price of the miners were going down with the price of Bitcoin, it was still roughly 0.22 Bitcoin. And then I just saw the miner that I bought for sale for $1,800. And the price of Bitcoin is currently like 16. I haven't even looked in like 2 days, but just assume it's around the where it's been balancing. So 16,500 is what I think it was at. I think the miner was like 1880. So that would be yeah, 0.11 Bitcoin. So I could have, if I'd hodled that Bitcoin through this crash, I could have two miners running right now, instead of one. So yeah, I guess it was a stupid decision. Um, Looking forward, it's not, because we all know where the price of Bitcoin is going to go eventually. Um, but sometimes like we all get caught up in that, like the big picture, the big picture, the big picture. And we kind of forget sometimes that there is a small picture for a reason, and that's why I tell people like not to get over leveraged, only buy Bitcoin with money that you can afford to not touch for 4 years, and stash away, and that's what you should, and make sure you have plenty of runway in case you lose your job or something catastrophic happens. um and and people can be quite critical of that, but I don't, I mean, you have to live, and like I think people lose sight of that. So, you know, yeah, in the long run, we know where Bitcoin's gonna go. So it doesn't even matter, bro. It's gonna go to the moon, and you're gonna be so happy that you bought that miner at 80 for $8,800, and you're basically hashing like my electrical cost for the miner. If I turn the miner off, I'd be getting the same amount of Bitcoin just buying it at spot. So, um, it's not even like profitable for me. It's just like this DCA machine that's just sitting there. Um, so, anyways, I mean, the only way it's actually, I think, profitable this winter is that it's helping me heat my house. Um, I'm waiting till January is the first full month that I have on record of us heating the house, um, from a year prior. So, so I'm curious to see how January looks, especially if the weather is similar. I'm be paying very close attention to that. But I think that honestly, it's shaving probably like, if I had to guess, I think in October it saved me like $80 in my heating electricity. Um, So, basically I was buying Bitcoin at spot price and got an $80 discount on my heating. So, I'm still in that way coming out ahead. Um, but there is so like don't get caught up in the, oh bro, it's gonna go to the moon, blah blah blah. We don't know when that's gonna happen. We don't know. Like I'm as bullish as anybody, but I'm also have learned to be realistic, and you know, you can't just be making your plans on a hope and a prayer, and wishing that it's just going to shoot to the moon. If your financial plans are based on Bitcoin going to the moon, then you have bad financial plans. This isn't financial advice, but I'm just letting you know as a friend that if your entire financial outlook is based on that, then you're not going to be in a good position. And so that's why I've been focusing on increasing my cash flows, and getting Movies Plus to the point that we were cash flow positive was like the biggest accomplishment. And it was great. And honestly, it was like, I don't know if I would have uh done it, like, not that I wouldn't have done it, because but like, whenever you're financially pressed, you get stuff done. And let's just be completely honest. So I've told you guys, like, we were in a Bitcoin standard. Um, we if Bitcoin had gone to 100K as a company, we would have been in great, great space. Like, we would have been in a great financial position. We all know that if it went to 100, it was gonna, blow the roof off, and at least have a spike up pretty high. Um, and company wise, Movies Plus was going to be in a very good position financially on paper. But the problem is that was only because we were holding an asset that I know is extremely valuable. You all know that because you're listening to this. But we wouldn't have increased and made our financial situation better because we were making good financial decisions, or making good business decisions. The business wouldn't have been getting better, I guess. It was a good financial decision. If Bitcoin went to 200K and we, held the Bitcoin like we were holding, then yeah, it would have been a great financial decision. But business wise, we'd probably be behind where we are. We'd probably be cash flow negative and not growing at the right pace, not making the right decisions, and not, plowing ahead like we should be. So, in a way, I can be thankful that the price of Bitcoin has kind of forced me into this position where, like, it was like after the spring, late spring of 2022, I was like, oh shit, like this is not gonna have a blow off the top. And we are way earlier than I thought we were. And I gotta I gotta batten down the hatches. And or before, like, I was growing the business. But like, I was, you're just kind of like going along, and adding things as you go. And then all of a sudden, boom, when that snaps into focus, you're like, oh my God, this Bitcoin, like, I think we all kind of had at the company, but like Bitcoiners in general, we had like in the back of our mind, like, oh, Bitcoin will be, like, obviously it's going to go up. So like, I'll just hold and we'll be fine. And then all of a sudden, it's, oh no, it's not fine right now. And this is a very tough economic time. I got to figure some shit out. Um, so that, forced me to make better business decisions, I believe. That forced my business partners to make, better decisions as well. And, we're in a much better place because, like, it's insane. It's insane. Everyone, all the people we talk to, like, when they'll ask, like, oh, are you guys, like, how are you doing financially? Are you approaching cash flow positive? And we're like, oh no, we are cash flow positive. And they're like, wow, and I'm like, I know, like, it is literally a miracle. Like, looking back on it, 2 years ago, starting a streaming platform, like, with, I don't know, what did I initially, I don't know. Sorry for the sniffles. I don't know if I initially put like 45 grand into it or something like that. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. But if it, I don't know, like, going back and looking at it, it's like, oh, putting tens of thousands of dollars into a streaming platform in the hopes that you'll be able to compete with Netflix and everybody like that. Um, I had the belief and I was like running with it, but looking back on it, I'm like, now that I know how hard it was to get to this point, like, Jesus Christ, that was that was quite a lift. to get to this point. And so I'm very grateful that we are at this point. And then also, I think Bitcoin dipping actually had a big hand in that. But so to get back to my point of, the poor financial decision of buying a Bitcoin miner, um, is like, you know, if I was looking, if I went back to, I think it was like beginning of May, whenever I actually purchased the miner, if I went back to that time and I sat there and looked at it more realistically and understood where we were, I would have just said, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait till like the beginning of the fall to buy a miner because I shouldn't that was like excess money that, given the turbulent times we were in and we were about to enter, if I wasn't I still wasn't completely honest with myself. But if I was completely honest with myself, I would have taken that 0.22 Bitcoin and parked it in cash, just because I was, like you guys know, I was on zero. Like how stupid is that? Like how dumb is it to have absolutely no secure runway whatsoever for yourself? Um, so maybe park that and parked a little bit more just in cash, and waited to see, what was going to happen over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months. Um, and uh, and then this opportunity would have rolled around where I'd have been like, if I would have parked it in cash, I'd have $8,800 sitting there, and I'd be able to buy four four miners with cash left over. So yes, I'd be in a better position if if I had been smart. And frankly, you guys should go back. I'll maybe post it in the show notes. If any hasn't listened to it, or even if you have, just go back and listen. Um, listen to me and when I talked to Huddle Magoo back in April, I think. I DM'd him this recently and said, like, I said, I'm really appreciative of that conversation because it opened my eyes to like how early we are. And I just kind of, that's when I started to like piece it together. Unfortunately, I didn't piece it together quickly enough to get in the right mindset and wait on the minor purchase. But, we don't always make the perfect decisions. It's not how this works. Um, so yeah, so we have to deal with the decisions we've made. And speaking of decisions that you've made, if you've decided to keep your Bitcoin on an exchange and you're at risk of losing them, like FTX and all the other places that are going under, you might want to get yourself a BitBox02 hardware wallet from Shift Crypto. Again, shiftcrypto.ch/Bitcoin made simple. Use that as the promo code to get 5% off. Um, because that's a decision you can make right now and you won't regret it later. So, you know, I I guess I was stupid to buy a miner when I did. Um, Personally, that'd be great to have a little bit more breathing room on my end instead of holding a piece of computer equipment that has lost $7,000 in value. Um, so is what it is. Can't cry over spilled milk, but I can certainly kick the floor and swear about it. Because that's what I would do in real life. Fun story, if you guys want to know a little tidbit, I tweeted this out, but now that I live out where I do, I have a long driveway that goes down a not steep grade, but just a decent grade hill. And as I mentioned, we're snow covered here, and it was icy the other night. I had my boots on, but I was taking the garbage cans down, and I try to walk them down in front of me with their wheels rolling. But no matter what I do holding them in front of me, they always, I can't do anything about it. They always spin around backwards and behind me. So through the summer, like I just walk down the hill with them like up against my butt, slowly walking. Um, and I was doing that. And at the like top of the hill, there was an ice patch that I stepped on, slipped, and absolutely wrecked my arm and elbow and shoulder. And then both garbage cans started sliding down towards the street full speed. So I had to like slide down the hill as fast as I could, get to the first one, stop it, and then kick my leg out and stop the other one before it went out of control. So that was, I'm sure, a sight to see. Somebody, when I tweeted it, said like, "Oh, get that CCTV footage before it, goes away." And I said, "Life hack: live somewhere that doesn't have CCTV footage." I do have cameras for my own personal safety, but I'm not, and those cameras could pick up what I did, but I'm not gonna post that. Not to be Mr. Paranoid, but I don't want you guys to know, and I don't want other people in the internet public to know where those cameras are stationed. So that's the other half of it. But yeah, so that was fun. And that essentially was a microcosm. That was like a visual representation of what it was like for me buying a Bitcoin miner. Um, so, another thing, I mean, like how early are we? I like we got to be really, really, really early at this point. Um, like this is decades long. Luke, one of the partners here, has his show on the Bitcoin, Made Simple podcast network. Luke, love you to death, man, but like $65 million Bitcoin by 2030, holy crap! If that happens, even a $10 million Bitcoin by 2030, if that happens, this world is going to be unrecognizable, probably for the worse by then. You know, maybe we hit a million by then. That's reasonable. Um, because we could have a leg up again and a couple legs up and it's exponential. But I mean, to think that we're gonna overthrow the fiat money printing regime in the matter of, you know, a decade and a half, it's crazy. Like this is such a longer play. The Fed, everyone else has so many other tools. They have so many other cards to play before the game is over. We know the game is over for them. They're just able to prolong the game. And I think personally, a lot of their goals are to prolong the game as long as they can until they're no longer in power and can't be held liable for what has happened. But that being said, I think I don't know. It's just it's not the quick fix overnight sensation that we thought it was going to be, or that I think a lot of us at the beginning thought it was going to be. It's going to be a lot longer road. It's going to be a harder road. So the good news is you have plenty of time to stack sats, I think, and just keep, like I said, money that you can afford to not touch for 4+ years. Just put it out there, and uh, and buy some Bitcoin, put it in cold storage on your Bitbox O2 hardware wallet. Um, and you'll be in a much better position. If you're like in your 50s, sure, you probably need like a quicker solution. If you're in your 60s, you need an even quicker solution. Um, but like if you're like me, or I mean, I'm in my 30s, if you're in your 40s, even, but if you're younger than that, like you got plenty of time, man. Like just stay humble and stack sats, as Odell says. It's the best advice I have found yet in the Bitcoin space. Um, so just keep at it. And the one thing I thought of too recently is I was like, are we in the age of abundance? Um, and I don't necessarily mean like energy. Hopefully, we eventually enter the age of abundance for energy so that we have, abundance of energy and it's cheap and pushes innovation and helps everything grow. But I was thinking about it. Sorry, that was gross. I'm not going to go through and edit all these. I apologize, but it is what it is. Um, uh, so I was thinking about this with like if you're like me in your 30s, you probably had like grandparents that grew up in the Depression. So like I remember my wife hearing stories. My wife's grandmother would wash Ziploc bags and reuse them because people that grew up in the Depression, it was an absurd thought to them to throw anything away. Everything could be reused. Why would you throw it away and buy more? And obviously, the Depression was before we got off the gold standard. Not saying that at that point they were on a they were the Federal Reserve existed at that point, so it was already going downhill. But are we in this weird condition? Like we've been conditioned to want abundance, to be wasteful in our spending and in our usage. Like I get really frustrated how much like not excess, like I mean I'm not rich, but like um it really drives me nuts is like when I see the number of toys my kids have. I'm not mad that they have toys. I just sit there and look at them like, God, how many of these they don't play with? And, a lot of them come from other people that give them as gifts. And I'm not a Scrooge. I'm not going to sit there and be like, no, kids, you can't have toys. I mean, you don't want to be those parents because then your kids just end up weird, I guess. Um, and so, and I mean, toys are fine, but like we just, we get to this point, like the consumerism, you know, the seeing commercials and stuff that play before videos with my kid, and it's pushing these toys, pushing products, everything, everywhere you look is being products are being pushed on you, and it's all to buy these material things that have no value, and you end up with an abundance of them, you know. Um, so case in point, I don't know. I mean, maybe my parents are listening, but and this is just an example. So they came up for Christmas, and you know, they traveled up, so they had their cooler in their car, and they have a new cooler. And I just literally thought of this because me and my wife have had the same cooler the entire time we've been married, and unless we needed something bigger, I can't imagine us getting a new one. But like, I thought about my grandpa's cooler, and like, I'm pretty sure that thing was from the Stone Age, because he grew up in the Depression. So like it's just this weird mindset that we live in now where it's like if something isn't working exactly right, we just freaking throw it away, man. Like we just throw it away and then that's we go buy a replacement. Christmas lights. Great example of that. By the way, Christmas lights use more energy than Bitcoin mining. So suck it. But yeah, the like Christmas lights last like 2 years max. Like on the boxes at Target, they'll be like guaranteed to last 3 years, which I'm like, first of all, bullshit. Second of all, like you can't like aren't things supposed to work? Like bulbs will burn out. You just replace them, but like they have all those little bulbs that are, tiny little ones that are absolutely impossible to replace, unless you want to sit there and replace 150 of them. Um, or like what it should be is like you have a strand of lights and like, you know, two a year go out and you replace them and the whole strand works. But no, like 100 of them out of the 150 go out and you have to test each single, oh, which one is it? And it's like, well, this is pointless. I'm just gonna go to the store and buy another one because it's $3 and really it doesn't cost that much, whatever. But we just live in this age where it's like, just get a new one. Don't worry about it. Um, like the same thing with the phones, I was guilty of like, every 2 years getting a new iPhone. Um, and even like the last couple that I got, I was like, I don't think there's anything different with this. Like I just there's it was that cool moment of like opening the electronics and like, oh my God, new phone. And then you're like, oh, it's like the same thing as the other one, but the physical casing that it's in looks different. And then we go and buy a case and put it in a case, and it just looks like a rubber brick that looks stupid. Um, Actually, for one of my iPhones, I kept it out of the case the whole time. It was, if you remember that, they called it the piano key black. I had that one, kept it out of the case the whole time. Shattered the screen like 3 times, but it was like, this thing looks so much better. It's more aesthetically pleasing this way. Anyways, and that was back in my fiat mindset. Now, like I have, I think the 11, and I bought it um, uh, 3 years, like a little over 3 years ago. And my wife has mentioned before, like, oh, we should get new phones. I was like, yeah. And then like I look into them, I'm like, they don't like do anything different. So I mean, the only thing that's different is an upgraded camera. But I also am like actively trying to spend less and less time on my phone. So I'm like, I don't want something that is going to attract me to spending more time on my phone. So yeah, it's just this mindset that we live in where it's like, oh yeah, 2 years are up. I guess it's time to get a new phone. And you get a new one, they rope you into a contract, and you're stuck. And it's this perpetual cycle of using stuff, using, and this age of excess, this age of abundance. We need this age of abundance to change from an abundance of things to an abundance of life and energy and love. Hey, if you want to get all sappy about it, that's what we need. That's how we fix the world. Keep it the age of abundance, but switch it from things that don't matter to things that matter. Um, so that's my motto, and I'm sticking to it. Also wanted to talk to you guys about Movies Plus, what we got going on. If any of you know anything about Keat.io, I'm working on downloading it. I just haven't had a freaking moment to actually sit there and play with it. But Guy Swan and Jeff Swan both like were hitting me up. They're like, "Oh my god, dude, the decentralized server farm that you wanted to do, totally possible. You need to download Keat.io, start messing with it." Apparently it's like I think it's like a BitTorrent type thing and seeding from multiple uh servers so that you can transfer massive files quickly. Um, and so I'm definitely digging into that. And we will implement that into Movies Plus so that hopefully I would love it if sometime in 2023, if I can come on here and tell you guys, hey, guess what? Go here on your node or wherever and become a server for Movies Plus. That would be pretty dope. And that would mean things are going in the right direction. Um, but yeah, we have our Movies Plus originals coming out in January on the 15th of January. We have a movie, the filmmaker, Miriam. She is the filmmaker. She was behind the movie, The Disappearing. I might be getting the title wrong, but it was The Disappearing of the Bees. And it was on Netflix, won a bunch of awards. But then she kind of got blackballed and blacklisted because she wasn't going with the narrative. Um, and she is an excellent filmmaker, but she has a documentary called The Real Timeline that comes out. It's a Movies Plus original on January 15th. And The Real Timeline, what she does is she goes in, she got all the footage, all the security footage, everything that you could piece together from the George Floyd incident and put it together in the actual timeline of what happened. Um, you know, she makes some claims that maybe I wouldn't. I don't know. Like I don't 100% agree with anybody, so that's the way it is. Um, but she certainly raises some questions about that timeline that are interesting and questions that haven't been allowed to be asked elsewhere. Um, so it's an interesting documentary that I think as you guys have learned at this point, we're just bringing on the heat. All the stuff that's controversial, I guess, just ends up on our platform. Um, so that, and then I'm not sure when this is going to come out. Actually, have a call later today to decide this, or at least start the conversation. I'd love it to come out in January, probably end of February, beginning of March, maybe. But it's called The Dividers, and it is about the I told you guys I think about the Shia LaBeouf video where he would stand in front of a camera at an arts installation and say, he will not divide us." Like it was really cultish and weird. Um, and then the internet started trolling him. And if you remember, they stole his flag that said, "He will not divide us." And that was one of the most satisfying things I've ever experienced in my life. I still remember when I saw that headline and I was like, "Oh, the internet wins." Um, so yeah, excited about that. And then episode 2 and 3 of Q Sent Me will be coming out. And hopefully we can advertise, but as you guys know, we can't right now. And we're getting deplatformed. So that's been interesting. And then uh, the Steal is about Ali Alexander following the Stop the Steal movement. Um, and I'm hoping to get some other Bitcoin content for you guys. I can't announce anything yet, but it should be exciting. So, anyways, that's all I have for you guys. I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and enjoy the holiday with your family. Take some time, relax, reflect on what you have in your life and the things that are most precious to you. And also get yourself a BitBox02 hardware wallet from Shift Crypto. Go to shiftcrypto.ch/Bitcoin made simple. Use promo code Bitcoin made simple to get 5% off. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.